The Philippines is a land of breathtaking beauty, rich history, and vibrant culture. A nation made up of more than 7,000 islands, it is a place where the past and present collide, creating a unique blend of traditional and modern life. From its stunning beaches, lush jungles, and towering mountains, to its bustling cities and charming villages, the Philippines is a country full of surprises and contradictions. Throughout its history, the Philippines has been shaped by a complex blend of indigenous, Spanish, American, and Asian influences. This diverse cultural heritage is reflected in its art, music, dance, food, religion, and traditions. Today, the Philippines is a vibrant, modern society that is proud of its heritage and eager to share it with the world. In this documentary, we will explore the beauty and diversity of the Philippines, from its bustling cities to its remote islands, and discover the stories of the people who call this nation home. Join us on a journey through the heart and soul of the Philippines and discover the unique, captivating spirit of this fascinating country.
Good day everyone, or should I say magandang umaga sa lahat. Starting off our presentation solid and strong with the literatures of Luzon.
Good day everyone. Did you know that Luzon is known for their festivals just like the Pahiyas Festival in Lucban, Quezon? The Pahiyas Festival is a festival known for thankfulness for boundless harvest. Pahiyas literally means precious offering. It took place in the 16th century and is usually celebrated in the 15th of May. Pahiyas Festival is where people organize a festival as a sign of thankfulness for the patron saint of farmers, or Saint Isidro the Farmer, as a sign of for plentifulness of harvest, or ani in Filipino. The Pahiyas Festival began as a gift-giving rite by the people of Lucban to the Franciscan missionaries who brought Catholicism in Quezon in 1583. The lesson that I have coped, or I have conquered, or I have realized after reading about the Pahiyas Festival is that the people organize something as a sign of thankfulness for the bountiful harvest. Same as for me, whenever I receive any blessings or just from someone, a gift from someone, I usually give thanks or give gratitude as a sign of thankfulness. And also, if possible, I usually just also give back to them to satisfy my, or to give my gratitude rather, for them to give them the sign or the hints that I am very thankful and grateful for their blessings and their gift. Also to God, I usually pray to Him that I am very thankful for all of His blessings, and we should all, this is going to be a lesson that we should all apply to ourselves, that we should always give thanks to those, whether they give something or they do something for us. Oh, and also that we should always remember that whether they do something for us or they have something for us, that doesn't mean that that's the time that we have to say thanks. We also have to say thanks to them if they are there and supporting us and giving us the guide for us to make that decision. So we always say thank you whenever we feel or whenever they do something for us, whether they give something, they do something, or they're just there to support us.
Did you know that the Luzon is known for their legend, just like the legend of Olongapo? Olongapo is a city located in the province of Zambales. It is one of the most cheerful cities in the central Luzon. It is near the Subic Bay, and it is also one of the places which have been largely affected by the eruption of Mount Pinatubo. This is how got the name Olongapo. Legend and folklore has it the name Olongapo was derived in context from the phrase Olongapo, or old man's head. This is the story about Apo, a beloved leader of a village located on Subic Bay. He was renowned for his justice and fairness, and inspired goodwill among his people. Unfortunately, he was brutally killed by evil men who wanted to take over his tribe. His death inspired the villagers to take action, and the village was renamed Olongapo to honor his leadership. Legend and folktales. abound in the most town in the Philippines, and Olongapo is no different. There are a number of stories of how the city got its name. According to one version, there lived in these parts a long, long time ago. An old rich man Olongapo was described as a vast rice field back then, and this old man was said to have owned every square inch of the land. Nevertheless, he was gentle and generous and was respected and loved by all.
Did you know that Luzon is known for their meats just like Apulaki at Mayari? Today I will give you the important details of the story Apulaki at Mayari. It was written by Magubat T.U.R. and Magubat Arwin R. This was published by Philippine Myths, Legends, and Folktales in 1990. This is a summary of the story. Bathala, the creator of the world, had a son named Apulaki and a daughter named Mayari. In time, Bathala grew feeble with age and died. And then Apulaki and Mayari had a quarrel for each wanted to rule the world alone. The quarrel grew from bad to worse, and finally, words could not express their furious rage. So they picked up the wooden clubs and fell upon each other with fierce blows. Back and forth they fought until at last Apulaki struck Mayari in the face and became blind in one eye. After reading the story, I have learned the importance of my family. No matter how many conflicts and misunderstandings but still the love of my family prevails. We may not be perfect enough to meet all the standards of having a happy family, but what matters most is how we forgive each other despite the shortcomings that we have. It's the love that will prevail at the end of the day. We must love and forgive each other and forget as if nothing had happened. Thank you.
Now that was quite a ride through history. Yet we aren't done. Buckle up and let us hear about the literatures of Visayas.
Did you know that Visayas is known for their folk tale just like the legend of Mount Canlaon? Well, if you don't know, just stay tuned. Canlaon folk tales tell the story of a couple, Kang and Laon, who were forced to elope after their warring chieftain fathers wanted to keep them apart. They were supposedly captured and doomed to die in the wilderness. From their deathbed rose a volcano which, at 8,050 feet above sea level, is one of the highest peaks in the country. Another version of this legend says Canlaon is derived from the Visayan word ka, which means for, and Laon, which is the name of ancient Hiligaynon goddess. It is said that during the pre-Hispanic time, the natives worshipped her, and the native priests called Babylans would climb the mountain for their rituals. Who is the author of the legend of Mount Canlaon? It is Bunchwald's Ligand. The moral lesson of this legend is that the true love is stronger than anything else. Since the couple was embracing each other until they died, it proved that they didn't want to be separated and lost from each other.
Did you know that Visayas is known for their myths, just like the Bakunawa and the Seven Moons? In this topic, the origin and evolution of the Bakunawa myth will be explored. The Bakunawa is an ancient Philippine mythological creature that is said to come out from the sea and devour the seven moons that appear in the Visayas region. This myth has been passed down through generations and is rich in symbolism. The Bakunawa myth has its roots in the Philippine mythology, and according to A.S. Suge and M. Reyes in their article, The Origin and Evolution of the Bakunawa Myth, the myth of the Bakunawa is believed to have originated from the creation myth of the Tagalog people, the largest ethnic group in the Philippines. The myth is about a giant sea serpent called Bakunawa that lives in the depth of the ocean and is responsible for causing eclipse by eating the moons. The story of the Bakunawa has been adapted, changed throughout the Philippine history, as various culture and belief were brought into the country. For instance, the myth of the Bakunawa has been influenced by Hindu, Islamic beliefs brought to the Philippines in the 11th century, which added new elements such as Bakunawa being a symbol of chaos and destruction. In recent years, the Bakunawa has become the symbol of Philippine culture and identity, with stories of myth reaching far beyond the country's border. The evolution of the Bakunawa myth is a testament of impact, cultural change, and adoption of the Philippine mythology. Overall, the Bakunawa and the Seven Moons in Visayas is a story of danger, heroism, and ultimate prevalence of the thrice insurmountable obstacle. It serves an example of anything is possible even all odds are seemingly against you. This tale exemplifies the power of community, family, and faith, bringing people together to fight oppression and justice. Understanding the significance of narrative is an important part of understanding the history and culture of Visayas. It's a reminder of how important it is to never give up in the face of difficulty.
Hello, everyone. And did you know that Bohol Island was known for this literature of theirs called the Deity of Mercy of the Bohol Island? Hello, everyone. I am Mark Margo Mkiao, and I'm going to tell you her story and my analysis of it. So, her story of the deity goes like this. So, long, long ago in the island of Bohol, it was struck by a famine, and people would kill each other over resources, and basically so many have died. So the people begged to the goddess of mercy, her name was Sapia, to bestow upon the humans a gift which would cure the famine. So the goddess of mercy, without further ado, she bestowed her gift to the humans by taking her clothes off and squishing her breast to let out drops of milk to the land of Bohol. So the land that was watered with her milk would grow these weeds, which we would later know as white rice. However, it still wasn't enough to cure the famine, so it went on until she squished out blood from her breasts, which eventually we would later know as red rice. So her milk became the white rice, and her blood became the red rice rather. So historically speaking, yes, it's a very interesting myth, but it has its traces of origin, but it's not from the Philippines. So these kinds of myths of a goddess of mercy bestowing these gifts upon humans was traced back to, say, other countries, but such as China, Indonesia, and India. So they have this common deity that it bestowed milk and blood, which resulted to white and red rice. But in this context that that of this goddess that did such, it also arrived to the Philippines primarily because I think that it was struck by a famine. So it's the common placement that an island gets struck by a famine and the goddess of mercy comes to help. But I don't really think it would be in Bohol if, of course, they weren't struck by a famine. Because, of course, when the rice fields started to grow in Bohol and things started to recuperate, of course, people needed an explanation. So this myth was probably brought up to them by some foreigner, which explained to them that this is how the goddess of mercy bestowed upon, a gift rather, upon the humans. So it's interesting, but I don't really think that it's of Philippine origin. But it's nice to know that there is an interrelationship between the cultures of Asia. And of course, that would conclude my report.
Hi, it's JC. Did you know in Visayan there's this legend about Santo Nilio and the psychotization of Santo Nino? The child deity Santo Nilio is considered the god of graces within the ancient Visayan pantheon. It has always fascinated me, not just because of its obvious similarities to the Christian image Santo Nino, but because of its interconnection with a recorded historical fact. It is through these recordings, the history, that we are able to piece together a speculatively glimpse of a social past. In the case of Santonillo, the evidence leads us on a very distinct pathway towards the origin, but leaves open the influence of Catholicism. had on pagan beliefs. In fact, it is more a study on how pagan beliefs influence Catholicism in the Philippines.
Did you know that Visayas is known for their myth just like the Bakunawa, the moon-eating dragon of Philippines? The moon-eating dragon of Philippines was first documented in Mga Sugilanong Karaan 1913 by Ferdinand A. Boisser. The story gained wider recognition when it was published in 1926 as part of the Mga Sugilanong Pilinhon or Folklore Filipino collection where Boisser ends with his personal experience surrounding the beliefs in Bakunawa. Bakunawa was a god worshipped by the Bicolanos and a demon feared by Visayans and by the Tagalog people. The Bakunawa is one of the most prominent mythological creatures in the whole archipelago. There were then 7 moons in the heavenly kingdom when Bakunawa, the huge serpent that rules the seas, first in love with them. From this darkness retreat among the caverns, many a time he had gazed with wonder and admiration at the 7 sisters, as they traversed the windy blue and yearned to possess them. If he could only swallow them and thus be the eternal possessor of them. One night, he flew and swallowed one of the moons and came down to earth again, in very haste. Months had passed when the moon he had swallowed melted. He tried to get another. He succeeded, but these 2 melted away. He tried again. He tried 6 times, and he succeeded 6 times, but 6 times also the precious booty melted away. Bakunawa has never given up. At times he tries again to swallow it up, but the people are always on the alert. They shout and make all sorts of noise when he tries to do so, and it is supposed that as long as the bamboo tree is not killed, he cannot succeed in his malicious enterprise. The moral lesson in this story, since the publishing of the Miana Eugenius retelling, people have expanded on the story of Bakunawa and the 7 moons by giving the moons names, associating the moons to deities from other Philippine pantheons, and creating epic battle scenes. The original publishing is a representation of the people's beliefs and Boisser's reality. At the time of documentation, I'm glad we can revisit these original tellings to capture clues of how society evolved and syncretized beliefs. Bakunawa's morals had been that love does not always prevail. This moral does not apply to all myths, but is still functionally true.
Did you know that Visayas is known for their myth like war deities? This takes place in the trinity of Visayan war gods invoked before or during battle. Inaginid, the goddess of war and poison. Barangao, the god of rainbow and a symbol of hope. Makanduk, the god of war and thunder. The Timawa were the privileged intermediate class of ancient Visayan society, in between the Yuripon and Tumaong. They were originally descendants children of the Dato by commoner wives, or Yuripon concubines or the legitimate children of Binocot princesses. Just like the Tagalog Maharlika class, the Timawa were primarily a feudal warrior class, required to provide military service to the Dato in hunts, land wars, and sea raids. They also paid tributes or taxes to the Dato, also known as buhis or handog, and were required to provide agricultural labor as needed. They also enjoyed certain freedoms, like the right to own their own land and juripon, the right to lend and borrow money, the right to enter into business partnerships. This warrior class had deities, which they called upon Inaginid, Makanduk, and Barangao. The Babaylans would intercede on behalf of the warriors and commune with the deities. There are 2 kinds of Babaylans, the living Babaylans and the heavenly Babaylans. The living Babaylans are the Babaylans who are still living in this physical world and serve people and help people to control day-to-day negative happening on this earth, while the heavenly Babaylans are the Babaylans who directly receive heaven's messages from God. The heavenly Babaylans guide the living Babaylans, who also receive messages from God but serve people directly on earth.
Once there were 2 gods, Captain at Magwayan. Once the captain planted bamboo in a garden. It grew and split into 2 sections and stepped out a man who was named Sikalak and woman named Sibakay. Sikalak asked Sibakay's hands for marriage because there were other people on earth. She, she refused because they were brother and sister having then they had a daughter named Samar. Sib and Samar had a daughter named Luplupan. We grew up and married Pandagon, who was also a son. Sikalak and Sibakay Luplupan at Pandagon had a son named then the god sent the weevils and he discovered Pandagon grave and he struck him dead with a thunderbolt. Pandagon stayed in the internal region, but the gods took pity on him. Did you know a story among the Pindatos who are described as fair-skinned people whose males decorate their whole body with tattoos? This live in the island of Central Visayas, Cebu, Boliti.
Visayas is known for their myth, just like the chocolate hills of the Philippines. The chocolate hills are a geological formation in the Bohol province of the Philippines. There are at least 1,260 hills, but there are be as many of that spread over an area of more than 50 square kilometers. They are covered in green grass that turns brown during the dry season. Hence the name. The hills are located throughout the towns of Carmen, Batuan, and Sagbayan and consist of about 176,000 mounds of the same general shape. During the dry season, when precipitation in Anadikete, the grass-covered hills turn chocolate brown. Hence the name in reference to a branded confection. The chocolate hills are a famous tourist attraction of Bohol. They are featured in the provincial flag and seal to symbolize the abundance of natural attractions in the province. They are in the Philippine Tourism Authority's list of tourist destinations in the Philippines. They have been declared the country's third national geological monument and proposed for inclusion in the UNESCO World Heritage List. That's all. Thank you.
Did you know that Visayas is known for their folktale just like the lost necklace? The lost necklace or why chickens scratch the ground. The writer of this tale is Facundo Esquivel. Once a crow bought a fine necklace from a merchant. He was very proud of his purchase, which he immediately put around his neck so that everybody could see it. Then he flew away and came to a beautiful little garden where he met his old friend that hare strutting about with her chicks following her. The hen wanted to borrow the necklace and said that she will return it tomorrow without fail. Now, the crow liked the hen, so he willingly lent her the necklace for a day. The next morning, when the crow returned to his property, he found that the hen and her chicks scratching the ground near an old wall. Then he asked the hen where is his necklace. The hen said it was lost. Her chicks took it yesterday while she was asleep, and now they do not remember where they put it. They have been looking for it all day, and yet they have not been able to find it. The crow said that the hen should pay for it or else he will go to the king and tell him that she stole his necklace. And to this day, then you can find hens and chicks together looking for the lost necklace by scratching the ground. And the crows are still exacting the payment for the lost jewel by eating chicks. It is said that the hens and chickens will never cease scratching the ground until the lost necklace is found. The lesson that we can get from this tale is that we should take good care of the things that we borrow from others.
Greetings to everyone. Today we will be taking a step closer into the Philippine myths. And this myth of today originates from Visayas. And it is the myth of why Filipinos are dark-skinned. This myth narrates the story of Pandaguad, descendant of the first man and woman breathed life by the gods, Kaptan and Magwayan. Despite his arrogant personality, he was believed to have invented the art of fishing. In fact, in one of his fishing trips, he was able to accidentally catch and kill a shark. Being able to do such an act, he claimed that it is also possible for him to slay the gods. Upon knowing this, Kaptan taught him a lesson by striking him down with a thunderbolt. He was struck to death and remained lying on the ground for 30 days. Nevertheless, Kaptan didn't mean to kill him. He was revived. However, his skin turned to black, and so was all his descendants became dark-skinned as well. And that was the myth of why Filipinos are dark-skinned.
Did you know that Visayas is known for their legend, just like legend of Santo Niño Agipo? Kung ulan ang pangayoon ug imong pagadugayon, dadun ka sa baybayon ug sa dagat pasalumon, ug dayon nila makuha ang ulan nga gitimuha. This means that if they seek rain and you delay it, he will be brought to the shore and bathed in the sea, and they then obtain the rain they desire. This is a ritual done by the Cebuanos in times of drought. They consider Santo Niño a rain god and have worshipped him for 4 decades since the Spaniards first arrived, blessing the natives with the rain during times of drought. But what is Santo Niño Agipo legend? It is told long before the coming of the Spaniards, a native went out to sea. He could not catch any fish the whole day long. Finally, he felt a weight in his net. He brought it in only to discover it was nothing but a piece of agipo, or a driftwood. Cursing, he threw it back into the sea. Soon after, he felt another tug in his line, but again when he brought it in, it was the same piece of wood. Over and over, he would catch the agipo and then dump it back into the sea, only to catch it again. Finally tired and angry, he decided to keep the driftwood in his boat. Like magic, all the fish in the sea flocked towards his boat and returned to his village with a bountiful catch. Although this legend appears so fascinating, the famous quote, "Don't judge a book by its cover," is somewhat applicable to this legend. Fisherman thought of the driftwood as nothing but trash, but eventually and mysteriously, it brought him bountiful blessings. But where exactly did this legend take place? This legend originates in central Visayas, specifically in Cebu, where the first Christianity took place. It is said that Santo Niño Agipo has similarities or is somewhat the same as Santo Niño, who is now the famous patron of the said Queen City of the South. This explains why the ritual that they do during drought is written and made in Bisaya or Binisaya, an Austronesian language spoken in the southern Philippines.
Did you know that Visayas is known for their legend just like the Maria Cacao? My name is Shekinah Labares from STEMC. Join me as I explore the life of Maria Cacao. Argao, Cebu is known to be home to cacao and one of the finest sequate in the country. So it is not surprising that the mountain goddess of the area has adopted it as part of its name. This is Maria Cacao. She is a goddess in Mount Lantoy in Argao, Cebu, Philippines. She was called Maria Cacao after her huge cacao plantation on the mountain. In fact, she would sometimes travel to America to sell her cacao. For her trips, she used a golden ship. Because of its size, sometimes its mast would snag on the bridge of Argao and would cause the bridge to collapse. She usually brought new utensils for her travels, then the townspeople used to borrow these utensils for feasts. After the bridge of Argao collapsed, an engineer went to Maria Cacao's cave and begged her not to pass by the Argao River. Maria Cacao is said to have agreed. However, the people cannot borrow utensils for their feast anymore because some townspeople failed to return her things and it is said that Maria Cacao has learned her lesson. After everything that happened, they never saw Maria Cacao again. According to Alburo Erlinda Quintanar, it is likely that the tale originated from an older form of a goddess in a golden boat ship and has adapted cacao to its name once the crop was introduced to the area. This legend was published in Argao, Cebu, Philippines. From what I have read, for me, the moral lesson that we can get here is that we should always be grateful for the kindness of others. Additionally, never take advantage of their generosity. It is a human behavior that can be viewed as a gift because others are only acting out of politeness.
Did you know that Visayas is known for this folklore? The Visera-sucking mother-in-law. The Visera-sucking mother-in-law, also known as Manananggal, is a mythical creature in the Philippines that separates their body from their lower part of its body, and their fangs and wings give it a vampire-like appearance. But in Cebu, Visayas, where the folklore originated, they describe the mythical creature, the viscera-sucking aswang, as an attractive woman that can be seen separated from her lower half. Here's few more details related to this folklore, the viscera-sucking mother-in-law. From my grandparents, I have heard many stories about aswang. Among many, I heard this story. There was a family in a small village known as having the blood of aswang. There was a beautiful lady in this family and many wanted to court her. There was a man from another village who had seen the lady and wanted to marry her. But many people advised him not to marry her. The man did not believe what the people said to him, so he married her. After their marriage, the young couple lived with the family of the girl. Not long after their marriage, the man noticed something. At first, the man did not pay attention to this. But there was a time when he saw his mother-in-law bowing down through the floor and at midnight flew. The mother-in-law was already so old that her life was very much conditioned between life and death. If her package of being an aswang could not be given to somebody, the dying mother would suffer much. So the wife of the man received the package, and the husband also noted the same events had happened to his wife. At midnight, she was always out looking for a victim, and the following morning, the whole town was puzzled over what had been cause of people's death. For more information, read the book of Maximo D. Ramos, The Aswang Complex in Philippine Folklore.
Well, that was a spectacular course of literatures brought by Visayas. Now, of course, we must not forget the second largest island after Luzon, Mindanao.
Did you know that Mindanao is known for their folktale just like the children of Limocon? It was written by Mabel Cockcall and was published by Philippine Folktale A.C. McClurg and Company in 1916. Hi everyone, this is Shadrach Esmadrona, and today I will give you the summary and important details of the story. In the very early days, before there were any people on earth, the Limocon, a kind of dove, were very powerful and could talk like men, though they looked like birds. One Limocon laid 2 eggs, one at the mouth of the Mayo River and one farther up its course. After some time, these eggs hatched, and the one at the mouth of the river became a man, while the other became a woman. The man lived alone on the bank of the river for a long time, but he was very lonely and wished many times for a companion. One day when he was crossing the river, something was swept against his leg with such force that it nearly caused him to drown. On examining it, he found that it was a hare, and he determined to go up the river and find whence it came. He traveled up the stream, looking on both banks until finally he found a woman, and he was very happy to think at last he could have a companion. They were married and had many children who are the Mandaya still living along the Mayo River. The lessons from what I have learned in the story is that it is not good for a man to be alone. No one is truly self-sufficient. Everyone must rely on the company and comfort of others in order to thrive. In life, there is always something prepared for you. You just wait and be determined. Thus, an earnest effort must be exerted in order to find your destiny.
Did you know that Mindanao is known for their legend just like the creation of Mindanao? There is a Manubo legend that explains why Mindanao is so endowed. Accordingly, in the beginning there was Manama, the creator of many things. In his solitude, he felt the need for assistance and so created the Diwata and Anitus. After this, he created the world by cutting his fingernails and molding them into a mass. The waterways and rivers he made by scratching the surface of rocky matter. But this was not enough. The world was barren and no plants would grow on it except a tree called Katungal-Tungal. Frustrated, Manama left the earth alone. One day he came upon the lush green world of Agassi, the one-eyed god. Manama was filled with envy, for it was beyond his powers to create anything like it. So he assigned a Diwata to secure his secret for him. The answer, soil. The Diwata created bees and wasps to search for soil. They found it only in Augustus' world. By sticking the soil to their feet, they succeeded in bringing it out unseen and so escaped the wrath of Augustus. Then they proceeded to their creator, the Diwata, who was visiting the earth in a place between two rivers in central Mindanao. The Diwata welcomed his pets and scattered the soil. To show the creator his work, he left some rocks uncovered. This became the cliffs and mountains. Seeds stolen from the world of Agassi started to sprout into what we now call the coconut, breadfruit, and betelnut. Agassi, in learning of the theft, became a constant source of evil to man. It is said that his evil assistants hide among certain trees and animals, jumping at any opportunity to thwart man. In turn, Manama's Diwatas and Anitus, the keepers of his creatures, stand ready to assist man. A rock opera ballet that tells the creation story of the Manobo tribe from Mindanao, Tales of the Manubo, is based on an article written by historian and anthropologist E.R. Senya Manuel.
Did you know that Mindanao is known for its legends? This mighty waterfall's name fittingly means one that is hidden, or Tinago Falls. This is ready lahay-lahay, and let's discover the true nature of Tinago Falls. It is one of the main tourist attractions in Iligan, a city known as the City of Majestic Waterfalls. It is specifically located between the towns of Linamon and Iligan City, Lanao del Norte, and the northern part of the Philippine island of Mindanao. The wondrous waterfall rushing down a green-covered mountain wasn't discovered until 2010. Tinago is a Filipino word that means hidden, as the falls are tucked away in a deep ravine. The winding staircase, which descends approximately 500 steps, is required for the trek to the falls. The falls are tall and drop 240 feet, 73 meters, from a cliff. Their icy waters casting into a deep and calm basin like pool that resembles a blue lagoon. There is a small cave beneath the falls where visitors can enter the listen to the rumbling waters. According to legend, an influential and powerful Sultan Aguk and his wife once lived. They were elected king and queen by their people, but they become too proud of themselves and become selfish, rulers of their kingdom. When the Sultan's wife became pregnant, an enchantress disguised as a bigger begged for their assistance, but she was exiled and rejected. Because of this, the enchantress cursed the couple, claiming that the child would turn ugly. But they ignored her and permanently banish her. The child did turn ugly. The couple was sad and disappointed because they expected the baby to be as beautiful as her mother. They hide the child in a cave to avoid embarrassment and named the baby Tinag, which means hidden face. They visited cared for the baby in the cave until she grew up and was amazed at what she saw. The enchantress who cursed her parents saw her and offered to transform her into something magnificent. She accepted the offer and became Tinago Falls.
Now that was very knowledgeable content from the Group 2 filled with historical literatures.
The Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao truly have their own different stories to tell and more to explore.
But our difference aren't any hindrance on how we should appreciate our own kind and be proud of it.
So we hope that our presentation has gave you all the content of satisfaction that we anticipated today.